Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Shovel Knight. In the last we took care of Treasure Knight stage and now we're entering the Hall of Champions. Compared to other optional stages in the game which are purely for money, this one has a couple of other purposes. This is the Hall of Champions, a living monument to the founders of this great land. Admission for one, that'll be 5,000 gold please. One please. Wonderful, clearly a discerning patron of the arts. Enjoy your visit. Now, it costs 5,000 gold to get in here, which is why I recommend having 5,000 last part, but you can make up that pretty easily here. Ah, this place is haunted. There are ghosts roaming the halls, and we're all trapped here. That includes you. So, you gonna do something about it? The main mechanic with this place is that the layout's essentially a 2x3 grid with some hidden rooms off to the side on the top and bottom layer. And in the center rooms on the two levels, there isn't anything, but on the four surrounding rooms, there's only one enemy type, Invisishades. We saw these last in Spectre Knight stage. However, unique to this stage is this glowing orb. When you hit it, it shoots out a shockwave in the four cardinal directions that can kill the Invisishades, and each one you take out drops a 200 gold piece. So the 5,000 gold might seem expensive, but you more than make up for it by going through this area. Once you clear all four of the main rooms of their Invisishades, the boss will spawn, I believe, in the bottom center room, but it also might just be any of the centers. But once you also take out all of the Invisishades in a room, it lights up, revealing these portraits in the background. Keep an eye on that dragon sprite there on the far right for later, by the way. It shows up in basically every campaign from my memory. These are backer portraits. I believe if you pledged $200 to the Kickstarter campaign, you would have your portrait rendered into this. I believe you had to submit a photo and your initials just so they could identify you, because in the hidden rooms on the top left and bottom right of the main layout, there's a little decoder that shows what the characters are on the nameplates on the bottom of the portraits and what letter they actually relate to. And there's some notable faces in this. I believe Matt McMuscles, formerly of Super Best Friends Play, is in here. Aaron Hansen's a pretty obvious one, though I don't think his was ready for the release of the game. I think, like, some Did You Know Gaming members in there. Ted from Brain Scratch Comms, who's the one I'm personally the most familiar with, is in there. There's some identifiable faces in here, and I gotta admit, I love the sprite renderings here. I think there are some that might just be generic sprites they had prepared just in case they couldn't fill any active slots. But, yeah. Oh, great, you blew my secret hiding spot. Now the ghost will get us both. Well, it's a good thing I already left the room. And yeah, here's the bonus room. That's the decoder there in the center of the screen. And this is also where you can find the two music notes for this stage, as well as some extra money. This is cool. I love the track here, but you don't need to do this. But I should also note, you may have noticed maybe about 20-30 seconds ago now, there was a little bit of frame rate drop. That's because this footage was recorded after I already beat the final boss. And there's a reason for that. I had done it before, but I don't know where the footage went. I distinctly recall recording Hall of Champions the first time, but the footage was just gone. I assume I may have accidentally deleted it thinking that it was a failed take at a level. But yeah, I don't know where it went. And the frame rate drops, I know for a fact, were caused by my antivirus at the time, because I was experimenting around with a different antivirus on my recording computer at this point, because the one I've used for a long time was the one I got for school, and that hasn't been able to be updated due to the fact that my school dropped that during my later college stuff. So I just was seeing around, okay, can I get something else that would work better for this? And I couldn't find one that was really good. So that was causing some CPU overload stuff, especially when recording, so that's why there was some minor frame rate drops here. With that said, because this is recorded later this part, if there's any money inconsistencies, that's the exact reason why. This was recorded later, and I didn't feel like doing everything the exact same way I did the first time. Hell, I don't even have a way to reference what I did the first time anyway. So, whoops. Thankfully, this is where my thoroughness with copying saves comes in handy, as because of that, I had a save all the way back here I could just load up and redo the level with. Shovel Knight itself has up to 20 save files that you can use, and I believe across this LP I used maybe 13 or 14 of them. And then I'll keep this save file moving forward into the future playthroughs. Just instead of starting on save file 1, I'll start on save file 2, and then 3 and 4, and then we'll go from there. We're gonna need to think of more clever names for the future ones besides just Shovelry, though. After you've cleared all 4 of the main rooms of the boss spawns here in the center, this is the Big Creep. Being another ghost, though, you still can only damage him with these light orbs. However, due to the size of his sprite and the speed of the shockwaves, it is very possible to hit the big creep twice with one hit of the orb. So if you can time yourself just right and place things right, you can get some pretty good damage in there. With that said, in terms of attacks, he's going to be flying all across the screen, teleporting behind you, then trying to move into you, going in figure 8 or circle motions. Around the halfway point of his health, he'll start doing some other attacks, like summoning other Invisi-Shades that will cycle out from him in increasingly wider arcs. And he'll also summon some skulls that tend to move left and right in circular patterns across the stage. No, it's just left and right. I think the circular stuff might be one of the campaigns. And they will themselves drop falling skulls as projectiles, so you need to make sure you're watching what's going on around you, because this fight can have a lot going on in it if you let things get to a certain point. With that said, I wouldn't call it the hardest boss in the game, maybe one of the busiest, but you just need to get really good at predicting where he's going to move and timing hitting the light orb in such a way that you can hit him consistently. Hard fight, no. Easy to get hit in, yes. That is probably the biggest danger of this fight, is due to the size of the big creep and its speed, you can get hit pretty easily. Hell, as you can see here, I pulled this fight a little bit close. But that's the Hall of Champions. So I had 5,000 gold going into here, and I'm leaving with over double. This place is really good for money.
Hero, thank you so much for saving us from the ghost menace. How thoughtless of me not telling you the place was haunted. Then again, that's the risk you run, paying for something in advance before you know the details. Please allow me to reward you for your gallant bravery.
There's something weird about a Kickstarted game throwing a dig at Kickstarted games. I mean, yeah, a lot of them don't turn out the best. This game's one of the few true success stories, I'd say. But still, that seems a little bit odd to do. Mind you, I say that, but then I give the Mighty Number 9 campaign the meanest glare I can give something, because while I think the game itself turned out alright, not great, or not the worst, but definitely far from good, that campaign was a train wreck and a half. And now, this is me reloading that same save I just did to buy some extra stuff here. I ended up buying, I believe, the Drop Spark, and that was it. So I believe moving to this next stage, I'm going to have that. With that, now we're going to be back in the main footage, I believe. Oh wait, no, I need to pass in the notes.
Wonderful! Let's see here. Oh, you found backed into a corner! I was honestly too busy to write this song, but it's my policy not to rely on ghostwriters.
Looking at a certain Capcom musician right now. And I forget if I bought any health or magic ups. I guess if I did, you'll see it when I get to it. I honestly forget what I did going into this. I guess it's going to be a little bit surprised. Let's see, I have 7 health orbs and 90 total magic. And I don't have the Drop Spark. If I notice any changes, I guess I'll mention them. With that, now it is time for us to go after our next major stage. Welcome to the Lost City, the Lair of Mole Knight. 7 health, 90. Yeah, I guess I just got the Drop Spark, if even. Alright, Mole Knight stage is dangerous in the right circumstances. Because this place's main mechanic right off the bat is that there's going to be a lot more digging compared to some other stages because we're underground. But this stage also has a very big reliance on the instant break blocks that you just dig right through without stopping. And even some of the double hit blocks, the solid gray ones, since those take 2 strikes to destroy. If I haven't mentioned that before, I believe I have. Yeah, because I think those showed up in, like Knight stage, maybe? I forget. If not, yeah, these gray ones take 2 shots. Now, as for Mole Knight's bio, the shovel may rule the confines of man-made gardens, but in the wild, the titan of tunneling is the mole. Mole Knight embraces this truth wholeheartedly. With his modified drop-forged armored claws, he mockingly tears through the earth with brute strength. Mole Knight calls the subterranean Lost City his home, an ancient abandoned metropolis. Shovel Knight must pass through the Lost City, but chances are slim he won't be challenged to see who is truly the master of digging. Pros, he's got great eyesight, he's shrewd, and he's got some high endurance. Cons, he's got an obsessive personality and he gets real sweaty in his armor. I would say on the first playthrough, if it wasn't this stage I died the most on, it's the one I end up taking on last, just because there's a bit more of a reliance on instant death in this stage because we have lava. Lava is instant death. Don't touch it. You can touch the lava falls that are falling from the drips from the ceiling because those are just damage. But the lava below me, that's just spikes, basically. But we have a random rhinoceros beetle with a gel sack on the back that acts as a trampoline, and these are the closest thing this game gets to an auto-scroller in its main levels. Some of the other expansions, there are proper auto-scrollers, as we'll see later on, but this is the closest thing we get to in the main stages, barring one later on that I just remembered. More on that later. With that said, this is arguably my favorite song in the game. I know what my favorite song is, period, in the game, but this is like top 3. I love this song. Cave levels usually have some really good music in my experience, at least when the music is done right. Now, obviously, you got things like the main ruins of Mega Man Legends that aren't like the plot-related ones, just the standard ones that connect all across catalogs. Those basically have no music in them, and that was always one of the biggest disappointments from that area in my eyes, and in that game, period. Now, another mechanic you have going on here is the lava drips themselves. Yeah, they're damaged, but if they touch a slime enemy, it'll become a fire slime. Fire slimes you can only damage by slashing with your shovel blade. You can't do the pogo jump on them to destroy them like you can most enemies in the game. So don't try to get ahead of yourself with that particular enemy, because you'll find yourself in some danger. And the next mechanic we got here is these, I guess, lava blocks. They are reactive to what's around them. So if you destroy one, they'll all start going off in tandem and in sequence. Think of it like the Grenade Man blocks in Mega Man 8, where when the first one gets lit up, the subsequent bombs all start to explode as well. Shovel of Hope, I'd say, doesn't do anything absurdly dangerous to them. The one thing you should note is that no matter where you strike, the explosions will start irradiating from that center point in both directions. So, like with this set of 3 right here, if I destroy the center one first, the explosions will head both left and right. So make sure you time yourself and place yourself carefully so in the case you're over lava, you won't accidentally get caught off guard by the explosion heading the opposite direction as well. Because that got me a lot my first playthrough. Although I think where I died the most in this stage is the next beetle segments. Just because I found it really hard to comprehend for some reason. Now we have our next mechanic right here, but first off we're going to come over here and get our relic for the stage. This is an interesting one. These are the Dust Knuckles. Dash through dirt and foes alike. When you mash the triangle button or whatever you have set to your relic, you'll just punch forward in a combo on and on again, but you need to make sure you keep on mashing the button to go through with the combo. With this, you can combo through enemies or dirt blocks to basically hover over bottomless pits. This is a really cool item, and I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it before in terms of being a mobility option, but I really like it, and it's notable, as you saw there. The dirt blocks don't have to be immediately next to each other for the Dust Knuckles to pick up on them. I think you can have like a 1 or 2 tile space between them, but you'll more often than not just see a 1 tile difference. Now the next mechanic for this stage is the grain gel we're bouncing on right now. It acts like a trampoline. When you jump on it, you bounce a little bit higher, but if you bounce on it with your pogo or hold the jump button, you'll bounce even higher. If you pay attention to that slime there on the bottom right of the screen, whenever something that's on fire touches the green slime, it's no longer on fire. This applies not only with the slime enemies, but with lava. So there will be certain points in this level where you have to attack the little ooblets of ooze and have them land on lava like so, in order to make them act as temporary platforms and trampolines to help you get to other places. I really like this mechanic. I don't know why, it's just something I haven't really seen many other games attempt to do. The conversion of lava as a hazard into a helper is just such a cool idea. The most I've seen other games do with this is if there's a lava platform you could cool down with like water or ice to turn it either into a temporary platform or to just negate it as a hazard entirely. Like the 2 lava falls in Mega Man 7 that you can take out with Freeze Cracker to open up extra pathways into the bottom route of Junkman stage, or to get one of the rush plates now that I think about it. There's just something about this mechanic that I've always loved. With that said, if I'm recalling correctly, at least, I want to say the other expansions use it to either a greater effect or more, because it's not going to be in the last platforming section of the stage. That's going to be another little beetle segment, as I said earlier. But this was also one of those stages on my first playthrough, as I mentioned. I died a lot here. This stage is very much a champion of the effect, and so is the other one I died a lot in, where you're more likely to get better at the stage through failure than anything else, because you'll get really far on, like, the first run, but then you'll die over and over again to the easy stuff you got past the first time, and just that frustration of getting so good at the portions you keep on dying at, but still dying to the stupid stuff, it's a memorable feeling, but damn it, does it suck on a first playthrough. And out of all the Shovel Knight campaigns, I think the one that has the most of that might be King of Cards, because King of Cards, given its shorter level structure, they felt comfortable having a few more gimmicks thrown in and mechanics to its stages. Some of them work, some of them can be really aggravating. I'm looking at certain teleportation tornadoes in particular in the last third of the game. But I'll get to that when I get to that. Because the other campaigns are a decent distance away from us at this point, I'd say. This is also where we really get to see the game first use these weird blue bird enemies. They will stay with the screen. They can bounce all around it, but they'll never bounce off screen. And I think out of all the enemies in the game, they might have the most HP, sort of like they're meant to be bubbles from Zelda 2. But thankfully, they move at such a speed in that open of an area that you don't have to worry too much about them. With that said, it's time for Mole Knight, so get Chaos Sphere out if you have it to destroy him. You're out of your depth, Spelunker. Are you lost? These ruins belong to the ages, Mole Knight. They're mine now, but more importantly, is that your digging implement? I'm astonished you made it 10 feet down with that rusty trinket. I'll bury ya. Mole Knight, as his name would suggest, loves burying himself into the walls and jumping back and forth between them, eventually slowing down and sliding across the floor as an attack. His main attack, otherwise you're going to see him use a lot, is generating some blocks from the ceiling that you can destroy to send them at you and to hopefully crush you against the wall for some damage. He can also hide himself under some dirt, in which case he'll have some mimics hidden in between, sort of like the fake Searchmans in that fight in Mega Man 8. But as you can see, the blocks end up working against him like the beakers do often in Plague Knight's fight, making the Chaos Sphere a very effective weapon against him. With that, we've now finished this section of the game's Knights, so it's time for our next Catch Her minigame, as well as the next meal ticket you get just by progression. This, what I do like is that they tend to keep the enemies you fight in these sections to the one you fought through the stage, like you're having some legitimate nightmares about what you've experienced. With that said, the Knights I've always felt were a poor choice of enemy for this, just because their guard can be so wide-reaching from above or below at certain points that hitting them in relation to the other enemies can be tricky. Still, it's worth it for the extra gold, I suppose. In fact, I think they dropped the most gold out of anything here from memory. With that out of the way, I think it's time we head back to the other outposts and not only deliver those meal tickets and music notes for money, but also grab any upgrades I can along the way. And the final portion of the map is unveiled to us in terms of main knights. And oh, hi, Black Knight. We'll face you later. Because I have other things to focus on right now, like the Knuckles Loader's Quarry. Like with the area back in the first portion with the Phase Locket, this is meant to be a tutorial on how to more in-depth use the Dust Knuckles. How fast you can mash them, what exactly you can go across with them. Just mash either up and square or triangle and you'll probably get through this no problem though. Because I honestly think out of all three of these little mini areas for money using a specific relic, this is probably the easiest, just given how forgiving the timing is on the Dust Knuckles. If the timing for comboing was a bit more specific, this would probably be the hardest one, honestly. Because it's not like you have to mash it like after a certain frame point. As long as you're just mashing it at a decent rhythm, The Dust Knuckles will continue through any blocks or enemies in your way, no problem. If you, say, had a specific 10-frame window, or maybe half a second window, that would be less so. Because I believe when you use the Dust Knuckles, your momentum is constantly being carried forward. To the point that I believe until the animation ends, you're safe to just mash the triangle button. Because I know other games would not have done that. I do wish these required maybe 2 or 3 of the relics from every one of the stages through the, that section of the game. Like maybe also having the throwing anchor or the money coin. But the more I think about it, the more I realize they tend to make these relevant to the upgrade you get that's more mobility focused than attack focused. But you know what? I can understand that. Let's see here. Oh, you found an underlying problem. This driving ditty was meant to increase productivity, but it backfired completely. Everyone started dancing. I mean, hey, it's a damn good song. And I'd say let's use that meal ticket and also grab ourselves an additional bonus ticket from the Gotician to, I believe, get every single meal ticket we can buy. I don't think there's any future ones beyond that. I think 6,000 is where that caps out. But let's see. I believe max health is the exact same as the boss fights, which is 10. This brings us up to 9. So yeah, there's only 1 left. And my weapon energy is now maxed out as well. I could have bought some of the extra armors at this point, but no thanks. Also, there's now a capital here in the first village that will launch you to the top of the airship in the armor outpost. Mr. Hat is here somewhere, I forget where. And there's even a 3rd spot you can use to catapult to on the map, though I believe that will only launch you to and from here. Let's see here. Oh, you found bucklers and bonnets. My suggestion to incorporate anvils into this composition was tossed aside. Pah! I say, make music, not war. I agree. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 7, we're going to be taking on some optional stuff before heading on to our next main night. Namely, there's one thing I left behind in the Hall of Champions intentionally. See you guys then.